Hi, my name's Keith Eisner. For the last 3 years, I've been in the cannabis industry. Though I am mostly in marketing, when I went into cannabis industry, I went deep. I went real deep. I learned a lot and because the industry itself is still learning a lot because there's a lot to learn. And I discovered something that I think needs to be discussed, not just within the cannabis industry, but kind of as a topic at large for marketing in general. Before I get to that, I do want to say I hope you're okay. I hope you're taking care of yourself and your loved ones and even the people you don't know, because we're all in this together and we will make it out to the other side. All right, moving on. So, after hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years of human cultivation, we kind of wound up with two main varieties of cannabis, Indica and Sativa. And they have real different traits, those varieties. Sativa is generally taller, Indica is shorter, it's got wider leaves, Sativa has longer flowering cycles, and the effects are generally different between the two, with Indica usually leaning towards a heavier high and Sativa usually leaning towards a lighter high. Now, out of that, you get all these different kinds of strains, right? And the strains are the actual flowers themselves. So there's not just two varieties. If you go into a dispensary, you'll notice there's a whole bunch of them. Anyway, that was pretty much the rule up until around, say, the 70s. And in the 70s, the farmers really started going to town on cannabis. And they did what all good farmers do. They optimized, right? They crossbred. They, just like a tomato farmer is going to want the juiciest, most flavorful, sturdy tomato to get into a grocery store, so would a cannabis farmer be looking to create, a flower that is more potent, more flavorful, greater abundance, easier to grow. Well, let's understand the 70s was 50 years ago, and these guys have been crossbreeding ever since. A lot. To the point where it doesn't really matter what's indica and what's sativa. It's all been hybridized. Yes, there are certain types of flower that will still have some elements of either an indica or sativa as kind of dominant, but even then, it doesn't really matter, because we've gotten to the point now where you could go into a dispensary and try flower that will actually affect you like the other kind. You could get a sativa and affect you like a indica and vice versa. Why? Because it never really mattered once we started crossbreeding these plants, whether it was indica or sativa, because there are four huge factors that determine how cannabis is going to affect you, and none of them involve cannabis being indica or sativa. So you've got your major cannabinoids, right? Your THC, which is the stuff that gets you high, and your CBD, which stuff that works in the body and can lend itself to that. They work together really well. But then you also have your minor cannabinoids. Your minor cannabinoids like THCV or CBN or THC delta 8 or CBG, and there's lots of other ones of those as well. And those play a very important, vital role in how cannabis is going to affect you, especially when combined with what percentages of THC and CBD are present. On top of that, you got a third factor, and those are terpenes. And it's been estimated that you can have about 200 terpenes in any type of cannabis flower. 200. Now, terpenes are made in just about every plant and even some insects. And they're really vital and important ingredients. They help create flavor and smell. They also create effects. We found that a lot of natural remedies that have the same purpose often contain the same terpenes. And we're believing through some of the research that we're doing more and more that terpenes are kind of those building blocks of good health. So terpenes, minor cannabinoids, major cannabinoids, and there's even a fourth factor that goes into how cannabis is going to affect you, and that's you. You. You see, your own metabolism, your genetic structure, your health, that's going to have a huge impact on how cannabis affects you. It's the same reason you can watch one of those super long pharmaceutical ads, the kind that you get to the very, very end and you've completely forgotten what the purpose of it was to begin with after listing all those horrible negative side effects, except you're pretty sure that if you survive, it's going to be the perfect day to walk your dog with an old person and a smile. I don't get them. But that's what we're talking about. All those possible negative side effects, same thing. It's your metabolism. It's how you're going to react. Same thing with cannabis. And yet, we walk into a dispensary and what do we see? Indica, sativa, hybrid. It doesn't matter. Those terms are completely irrelevant. The only reason this industry still holds on to those terms is out of habit. Does it matter to the grower? Yeah, it might matter to the grower that you've got more sativa or indica dominant when they're growing it, because that does help determine flowering cycles and size and all the rest of that stuff. But that's where that ends. When it comes to the consumer, it doesn't matter at all. And the big issue that I have with that is that here we are marketing the flagship product of our industry, flower. Wrong. We're marketing it so wrong. We are marketing it with a completely false assumption that the way this is labeled is actually going to somehow translate into efficacy for the consumer. Come on. It doesn't work that way. You want to make this work properly? I got two different good solutions for you. The first one, just get rid of indica, sativa, and hybrid. Talk about the strains. They're strains. They're strains. That's what people want, are strains. They don't care anymore. They really don't. Whether it says indica dominant or sativa leaning or whatever. They want the strains. And why they want the strains? Because the strains that they're looking for are the biggest clue that that flower has the ingredients that they're looking for. Like any other good CPG product, right? You get a consumer packaged good when you go into the store repeatedly. You've got loyalty for that brand because you know it's going to taste the same. It's going to work the same every time you buy it. It's going to be there on the shelf. It's going to be about the same price unless it's on sale, and it's going to work the same way. Well, hey, guess what? That's why CPG is effective. That's why consumers can be so much happier, because there are predictable outcomes. The more we're marketing flower under sativa, indica, and hybrid, the more we're literally placing roadblocks between ourselves and the consumer when it comes to predictable outcome. So get rid of it. Take the strains and list the ingredients. Talk about the percentages of the major cannabinoids, the minor cannabinoids, and the terpenes on site at the dispensary. Make sure that information is available. Now, I've got a second suggestion. If you really want to go crazy, if you really want to take this to the next level and seriously start to move this industry in the right direction, create a flight, right? Just like you go into a bar and you get a flight of wine or beer, create a flight, like 3 different strains, okay? And they're strains that you know are made by good growers. You can get more of it, generally reliable. And they're common. They're not crazy ones that are just going to disappear tomorrow. And you make one, you get one that's got a heavier effect. You got something that's got a mid-range effect. You got something that's got kind of a lighter, more energetic effect. Generally speaking, right? Because you can't predict this 100%. You put those 3 together, and when you've got a customer that comes in, you ask them if they'd like to try your flight program. And if they do, they get those 3, and they also get a card. And on that card, they're allowed to answer questions like, did you like it? Keep it simple, right? Did you like it? What was the most profound effect you got out of it? Was there anything that you didn't like about it? And would you buy it again? You don't have to use that. You can make up your own, right? But what you want are very specific questions that are going to give them the opportunity to really think about their condition as they're smoking and really kind of determine what it is that they want from cannabis. And then whether or not that strain can provide it. Now, you're not going to get the first round, right? They're going to try all 3. Then they're going to come back to your dispensary, and then they're going to say, well, these are my results. And you're going to say, interesting. Okay, well, based on the fact that you really like this one over here, and you didn't so much like that one, and you kind of felt good about this one, there are some similarities between those 2 strains, and especially those kinds of effects. I'm willing to bet that if I kind of take that information you got right there, I can suggest another 3 strains for you to try that are going to come even closer to the effects that you desire. And then you send them away with those 3 small bits, not, we're talking about, grams, along with a card, again, to talk about their experiences and bring it back to you. And after 2 or 3, maybe even 4 visits, they're going to be able to dial in the strain that's right for them, what they're looking for. And then they're going to think, well, maybe we want a strain for this purpose or something that's going to help me fall asleep, right? They're going to understand that it's ingredients in cannabis that matter. How those ingredients work with their body is what matters. And they're going to be looking for an ally, your business, to help them through that process, instead of indica, sativa, hybrid, which means nothing. Anyway, that's my rant. This is why I have issues with this industry, because here we are embracing habit in order to determine how best to sell our product. Get past the old habits, move forward, be more like CPG, delight your customers, and most importantly, be healthy. I hope you're doing okay. And maybe I'll do this again sometime.